Canada? Oh, Canada. So let's have a breakdown of what went down last week in terms of the negotiations between the deal between the United States and Canada in terms of tariffs and all that other stuff. So basically, earlier in the week, Trump said, I think Carney also said that they were really close to a deal, that they were going to sign it by Friday. And, when you get that close to a deal, you want to work it out because you've already agreed to so many things that you just want to make sure these last things get done and done, specifically in your favor. And you don't walk out at the last minute with that. And so something egregious must have really happened there at the end. And then what we're reading right now is that Howard Lutnick came in and put the put the metal down and said, hey, this is the way it's going to be. We've agreed to all this stuff. Now you got to agree to this. And that is something that Carney and Canada could not agree to. And it shows what unhonest brokers the United States are in every single thing. Now, I want to just go over one or two things here that, this happened. It happened very quickly, and Canada just backed out. So what we have here is what the United States wanted, which Howard Lutnick had brought up, is that they wanted control over who Canada trades with. Why is that? Oh, well, Canada's been making deals with all kinds of other countries since the United States imposed the tariffs on them in April of 2025, something like that. And they say, no, forget all those deals. You deal with other countries the way we tell you to deal with them. They want to control over Canada's use of the French language because the French language and the English language are in the Constitution or whatever in Canada, and they're not going to get rid of that. They've had that for hundreds of years. Control over Canadian-made cars. I'm sure Ford's not going to be happy about that, and they're going to be talking to Trump and his buddies quite a bit about that. Control over what goods the Canadian government buys for its own use. Where's the sovereignty in that? Oh, that ain't there at all. And the ability to reimpose tariffs whenever Trump has a bug up his rectal cavity. Now, if you would look at that, any person such as me, who's not that smart, would say, hey, that would never be a deal that Canada would agree to, especially at the beginning. So this had to have been brought in at the end. And of course, Trump and them are blaming Canada for the whole thing, that they wanted to be like the 51st state, but they wanted their autonomy at the same time, but that it isn't. But basically what it's showing is that Trump is a bully, his administration is a bully. They're causing havoc all over the world right now, and it's not doing anything to help the average American in any way, shape, or form. And they're going to continue to do it because they don't know any better. They cannot stop what they are doing. As much as it is hurting the United States and as much as it is going to ruin our ability to work with our partners in the future. Because imagine what would happen. A Democratic administration comes in, they reverse all this stuff, and then a Republican comes in after that. Hey, would all of those things be gone again because a Republican came in? Why would any of these countries trust us again? This is just terrible, terrible stuff. And if we just look at it, a couple of things that are going on. Well, I want to mention one or two other things. One other thing that Canada did. Preemptive trade restrictions on non-U.S. nations. Canada must align with U.S. sanctions, export controls, and import tariffs on third world countries, giving up the right to set independent foreign trade. Crazy stuff. All right, so let's get into the bully and what they're doing and have a look at, from worldwide. Look at this. The United States has a failure to lead in Ukraine. Ukraine's people are suffering terribly. There is day in and day out genocide and crimes against humanity committed by Russia and Putin. And it's not going to stop. It's going to keep going. And Ukraine has a very good chance of winning. But at the same time, my understanding is right now is Russia is producing ballistic missiles all over the place right now. The United States is pilfering Venezuela. They took out the head, but they put in somebody who's just as bad, and they're taking money. We don't even know where that money is going. They're subsidizing Argentina. What did we give them, 20 billion, 40 billion? Because they were having trouble with their economy because they have a white right-wing nut job in there also. And of course, we have the fiasco that's going on in Iran right now. And of course, yesterday, not Lutnick, Besant said, hey, we're going to have an embargo on you. I mean, we're going to have an economic, embargo on you guys. And, saying that they're going to go after everybody, including, let's just say, India and China. Well, guess what? China has a few tricks up its sleeve. It knows how it could actually go out there and bring oil back to 110, 130, $140 a gallon. They know how to do that. And of course, the United States doesn't have a way to respond for that. And also, China has rare earth minerals that we want also, and we want to trade with them. We want to get that, the soybeans business back. So Canada stood up. Yay for Canada. Good, good, good. Let's do that more often. And they may have to pay a heavy price because the United States is what, 10 times, 20, 15 times as big as Canada, and we had years and years of agreement with Canada that all worked out, all right, because we had negotiated it over the course of years with specialists in those fields. Trump's all that stuff, it's just made up, all right? Now, we have an election coming up. Do we want to continue to have this kind of chaos? Do we want to have the continued support of this president by every single Republican in the House and in the Senate for this type of monstrosity in terms of foreign affairs? No, we don't want this. But the only way we can do it is to get out the vote and to vote unendingly blue.